Alrighty. I have a new system going tonight, and I don't have anybody right now telling me if I am going live. So, yep, I am live. My first night on the new stuff. Let's see how we do. I'm Dale, and we're on the Schweview. We're doing another segment tonight about our shutdown. Our shutdown is rapidly approaching a record number of days, which coincidentally turns out to be President Trump. His last or first term in office had the record longest shutdown in the country's history by 10 or 12 days. And now here we are in his second time, first opportunity. And I don't think this will be the last shutdown of Trump's administration, his second time. I think we're going to have to get accustomed or get used to having shutdowns. That's just my personal opinion. We'll see as time goes. And we talked on my previous show about what's the cause of the shutdown. And I've talked about how they call it a continuing resolution. And they say it's a clear bill, continued resolution. Where I say, well, it's not a continued resolution because the Republican request for a continued resolution is actually changing what's going on. They're taking out the health care subsidies so that we're not continuing, we're changing. And when they say that the Republicans are voting to pass and the Democrats are not voting to end the shutdown, that's a word game. Democrats are voting for a shutdown. They just want it in a different way. So if you look at it, they're both voting. Just the Republicans are voting because they want it their way, which is to have the same thing, just cut out the insurance subsidies, which, as we talked before, bring it up to speed. The Republicans say that these subsidies, the Democrats are voting to be able to pay for the illegal immigrants' insurance. That's not correct. There may be some illegal immigrants that are getting insurance. That's correct. But that's not what the Democrats are voting for. They're voting for insurance subsidies so that the American people can continue having insurance. Now, this is not new. This situation, and President Trump talked about it tonight on 60 Minutes. This isn't new. This started 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 2017, when John McCain gave the thumbs down on the House floor for ending the Affordable Health Care Act. It wasn't to reshape it. The request was to end it. And President Trump has been on a mission to end it ever since, and even beforehand. He made it very clear. And here's where the concern is. Here's where the problem is. For all these years, President Trump has said he will make it better, but nowhere ever has he presented a plan for a better healthcare system. He hasn't even presented a plan for any healthcare system, whether it be better or worse. He just says, end this one, and then we'll work on it. Look, here's the biggest thing. President Trump has said over and over again, he's a businessman. Like we talked last night, In business, we have a keep it simple, stupid. The KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. There's also another one. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, Donald Trump has a history of being a business person. He brags about how he negotiates deals, how he set up the deal for this, how he set up a deal for that, how he saved this, how many billions of dollars he sent to Argentina in order to save their economy, how he has helped all these different places. But here we are when it comes push come to shove, when the rubber hits the road here in the United States of America, in his own government. Where is he in the negotiating table? His negotiations are either vote for it or you don't. There's no negotiation. That's not negotiation. That is clear-cut failure to lead. All right? Now, ask again, what is your plan for the future of healthcare? He doesn't have a plan. He wants us to end what we do have while he has an answer of nothing. That's not negotiations. That's not leading. That's not looking out for the best interest of the United States of Americans' citizens. Okay, are some illegal aliens getting health care? That's a probability. That's not a possibility. That's a probability. But those numbers are so far minuscule in comparison to the real citizens who need that health care. The citizens who need the food benefits. These are the elderly. These are the children. We talked about, and this will be a whole nother issue, but it still ties together. That's the problem. All these things, one is an issue here and it's small. Another is an issue here and it's small, but they all tie together in ways that are huge. We banned abortion by choice. We made it illegal, but yet we're forcing women to have babies, and then they don't have health care after the baby is born. So this is not really about what's best for the people. It's about numbers. And I'm going to say that it's about numbers. And I'm going to leave it at that point. Because if it was really about the people and the what's best for the American people, we'd be taking care of the less fortunate. Because the better we take care of the less fortunate, the better we are in the long run. So, what we need to do is not eliminate things. We need to come up with a plan to make them better. Can the insurance, the Affordable Health Care Act be better? Yes, it can. Can our welfare system of food stamps be better? Yes. I have a book, My Thoughts by S.D. Owens. It's available on Amazon. I put it out. I have in there a formula of how you can work the food stamp system to where people eventually graduate themselves off. Currently, everybody's heard it talked about. It's a trap. It is a trap. People will receive food stamp benefits, aid to dependent families. Well, here's the thing. Once they get this amount, if they start making too much money, they get cut off altogether, to where now they can't afford to really get a job because they lose so much benefits. It needs to be a graduated off system to where once they reach $1,500 a month, which is peanuts, they don't get cut off from all their benefits. No, they reach $1,500 and they get a slight reduction. And when they reach $2,000, another reduction. It slowly graduates to, after a certain number, depending on what city and state you live in, on their economic setup will depend on what type of level of income versus reduction you get. So, what we need to do is work to where that after an X amount of dollars, the recipient is actually paying for their own food stamps. And that can be done. It is something that just needs to be worked on a way in each city and each state to where it's done in a healthy way. But that doesn't have anything to do with our current shutdown. Our current shutdown is not about choice. It's about intimidation. President Trump himself has said this will end only when the Democrats come and give up. That's not negotiations. That's not what's being healthy for the American people. That is an ultimatum. That's not leadership out of a president. We all want leadership. We want someone who's going to help us through positive ways, not through intimidation. The agricultural secretary has said by cutting off the food stamps was wrong and pointed out that it's the Democrats that are leading us in the wrong direction by not agreeing to the continuing resolution, even though it's not a continuing resolution. And she said it's their fault because they're not agreeing. They want the healthcare subsidies. Well, that is what has been going on. So that would be the continuing resolution. Well, now, even today, Marjorie Taylor Greene came right out and said, hey, guys, what is the Republican plan for healthcare? So even the Republicans are starting to see, they've known it for a long time. But the bottom line is, you can't go forward in a positive way without a plan. You can't cut something off without a plan on how to replace it and grow from there. Can it be better? Yes. But it cannot be better if you cut off what we currently have and then turn around and have no plan for the future. We have to have a plan. Come with a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, we cannot trust or believe that once we give it up, you will ever come back with it. Because once it's gone, it's gone. We never had it prior to getting it. So once it's gone, we're not going to get it back. Look at what Doge has already done. Look at what has already been cut. That's enough said. In some places, it's a good thing. In some ways, it's a great thing. There are some things that President Trump and his administration have done that have been needed. This is not one of them. Cutting the health care subsidies for the needy people of the United States of America is not what's needed. This is not a good direction. Everybody knows that. And here's the other thing that everybody has lost focus on. In August, everybody wanted to know about the Epstein files. And President Trump was frustrated to the point where he said, we need to stop talking about this. Okay. So the House sent everybody home a week early. They couldn't vote on anything about releasing the Epstein files. That never got voted on. So nobody could talk about it. But hey, we'll talk about it and we'll release those files. We'll debate that as soon as we come back into session. We're in November. The House has never come back into session. Every time they were supposed to come back, well, let's see. Just before they're supposed to come back, Charlie Kirk got murdered. And that took over the airways. Nobody talked about Epstein because we had to talk about Charlie Kirk. Well, now the Charlie Kirk news is starting to squash down and that attention's not there. So we've got to find something else to make it to where Epstein's files never get back up into the main headlines. What is it? We shut down the government. And we can't possibly restart the government because if we do, then there's nothing else to talk about except for bring the House back into session. And then what do? We have to then release the Epstein files. And that's what everybody wants. And oh my gosh, we can't have that. So our distraction has not been because we need to fight over a budget. President Trump has already shown he's going to do what he wants anyway when it comes to budgets and when it comes to all these congressional budget that they've sent out. The funding, he doesn't care what Congress says. But right now, he is using this as an opportunity to not have to deal with the Epstein case again. Because now, well, the only thing that's a matter of issue is the shutdown. And what's the fallout from the shutdown? Let's see. Now we'll stop food stamps. Never before have they stopped food stamps. But all of a sudden, this time they stopped food stamps. Why? Because, that's going to hurt the small person. And the small person, we got to really fight for them. Meanwhile, we don't talk about the Epstein files. Okay? Well, we'll blame it on the Democrats because, it's for them. No, it's you. You're doing it on purpose so you don't have to deal with Epstein. Well, at the same time, we're going to take this opportunity. President Trump will finally get what he wanted, and that is the Affordable Health Care Act eliminated with no plan to replace it in any shape or form. And as long as it's gone, there never has to be another plan. And so therefore, the Epstein files get forgotten. By the time the shutdown ends, the House will be ready to recess for holiday vacations. And nobody comes back in until January. And once January comes back in, we've had this time. And hopefully the Epstein thing is under the rug or under a snowbank someplace. And that's just the way it'll be this time. I'm telling you, from the Schweview, from me, Schweview to you, it's not the Democrats. And it's not really about the health care. We don't want the Epstein files talked about anymore. Hey, hit subscribe, hit like, follow me, send in your messages. I have said before, if you don't agree with me, I like that. Send in something, we can discuss it. If you do agree with me, I like that too. But discussion is healthy. Different points of view are great. And what we want to do is have different points of view with healthy, positive discussions. Even the people who agree on things will have a different view on how to agree on it. Healthy discussion is what is great for growth, and it teaches our children how to be healthy without violence. We've got a lot of growing to do as a country. We've got a lot of growing to do as people. And it all starts with us adults. How well do we handle ourselves with differing opinions, differing ideas, different ways of life? It can be done. Again, hit the subscribe. I want to hear from you. Definitely want you to hear from me. Thank you from the Shweview. Thank you much.